This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Hey! Whoa! What? What's with all these butterflies in here? Come here. The response to these ray gun panels that I made in my last video has been overwhelming. It makes me really happy to know that so many of you guys love this retro futuristic crap as much as I do. But now, I gotta make a load of the things. For the first set I made, I was basically creating one-offs, but making something and making that something into a product are two different things. At this point, I have to switch to production mode, and well, I actually kind of like this part, figuring out all the jigs and ways of streamlining the process. And we do that by first dividing it into steps. We start by making the blanks. Go away. Seriously, what is with all the butterflies in here? It's like the birds in here. If the birds were tinier and drunk. Breaking down and gluing up the material into larger, yet where's the track? Breaking down and gluing up the material in larger but still manageable pieces means that A, I don't have to worry about glue overspray, and B, I also don't have to line up the edges of each panel like I did before, which saves a huge amount of time. Something I'm sure you've noticed, these panels are already painted. To paint each of these myself like before would have been a huge time suck, but I also didn't want to sacrifice quality. I mean, I'm not building a submarine here, the details actually matter. So I am using a pre-finished matte black aluminum from a supplier of high quality sign materials. So I guess that's step number 2. Unfortunately, there's just not much that can be done to speed this part up. Sanding is sanding. Just another face in a red jumpsuit. Did a good job cleaning up the place, but his boss didn't like him, so they shot him into space. I don't know any hymnals. So I should probably explain for those who haven't seen my last video, and you totally should, link in the description. What I'm making here are laser-etched aluminum panels of old design patents I dug up from the 1950s for toy ray guns. Now considered so dangerous that Instagram has crippled my account for posting about them, for violating their policy on weapons. I wish I were kidding. These were a project I resurrected after abandoning it 10 years ago, and I was so happy with the result that I started offering them for sale on my website, which, by the way, is hosted by Squarespace. The panels have proved quite popular, which is why I've gone into production mode here, and I could not have done it without Squarespace's easy-to-use commerce features. It took me just a few minutes to upload my product images, write a description, set the pricing, and start taking orders. And you can sell digital downloads like I do with the project plans for my DIY shoplift. Plus, Squarespace offers a variety of professional templates to get you started, which you can customize to suit your own needs and style, and they work across platforms and devices. No tweaking things all the time just to make sure they work. Believe me, I used to work in web development. Nightmare. Nightmare maintaining all that yourself. I don't want to go back to that. Head to squarespace.com now for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/WesleyTreat to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Now, let's finish this step. I'm going to add a light clear coat to the wood backings on these, but I've really got to get my maker's mark on the backs of them before I do that. So I am back at my Nova 35. I'm having so much fun learning how to use this thing. I was pretty intimidated by it when it first arrived because I knew nothing about laser cutters, but it's been super easy to learn on. I haven't run into any problems or annoyances that I've had to work around or anything. I definitely made the right decision with Thunder Laser. Anyway, I don't want to run these blanks through here one by one, so I've cut myself out a quick layup jig. I can align 6 of these guys in here at one time, run one file on them, and batch these out nice and quick. Previously, I used one of my favorite finishes, TOTALBOAT's Gleam. Unfortunately, applying that by hand again would be prohibitively time-consuming, so I have switched to my favorite spray lacquer, Deft. Unfortunately, that means that I've got to open the shop door in July in Texas. So it's 95 and more humid than a squid's Do squids even have? I looked that up. There's no one over there. I'm very lonely. Still, I only have to wait about 15 minutes between the two coats, hit it with a little 320 grit, and it's on to the next step. When I lasered my logo on the backs of these, I was also able to etch a couple of shallow pilot holes for the wall hangers. But on the front, I've got a layer of aluminum, so the pilot holes for the standoffs aren't going to be as easy. I could use a stop block on my drill press like I did before, but I've got 110 of these blanks to go through. That's over 400 holes, making it a perfect job for a robot. So I've added a couple of stop blocks to my X-Car and installed these nifty clamps from Rockler, and I can knock out 12 holes in one go. I love jigs. Unfortunately, I can't just plunge straight through the aluminum with an end mill, and the spindle is really too fast for a regular drill bit, so I've programmed it to run a spiral path through the aluminum till it reaches the birch, then plunge a simple 1/8 inch pilot hole. I probably could have done another column here and gotten 6 done at once, but 3 is just enough that I don't get too emotionally invested in a Reddit thread before I have to switch them out. And while I've got those going, I am also running my Thunder laser, which is taking care of the acrylic. Not much has changed since the development stage as far as this is concerned. I'm still able to run the same file. I just had to break down the 8x10 sheets into manageable pieces. Hey, what do you know? It's Christmas in the entertainment district. And I set up a couple of stop blocks for quick alignment. Another great thing about this pre-finished aluminum is it's got this protective layer that prevents me from marring the surface before slipping it in the laser. The only time I recommend removing the protection before, the burning sensation is the goal here. And I can use the same jig for the fronts as I did the backs. To batch these out, I've set up a template in Lightburn where I can paste up whichever of the 6 designs I need to etch, depending on which orders came in first. Oddly, I haven't gotten many orders for patent 168909. You know, the chonky one. It's one of my favorites. Do me a favor, go to the website, show it some love. In fact, if you order it in the next week, you can get 10% off that one. As you probably saw in my last video, I spent quite a lot of time finding the best settings for both quality and speed. And speed is important, especially with a production run. So I've worked on implementing a few refinements since then, like etching the border separately instead of including it in the rest of the scan. That means the head doesn't have to travel across the whole width of the board the entire time. That reduced the time for each panel from about 25 minutes to 15 minutes. That one change reduced my etching time by 40%. A batch of 6 takes about 90 minutes now, and I've already been able to run a few batches. So while this one's going, we can start on the final step in product development. All right, so this isn't the sexiest part of product development, but it's an important one and one you should really start thinking about at the beginning. Back when I developed the Furter Burner Mini Wiener Grill, I had accidentally designed it 1/8 of an inch too long to fit in the intended shipping box. Thankfully, I caught that before I went into production. These panels are 8 by 10, so they'll fit perfectly in these flat rate padded envelopes. I'm a big fan of the USPS flat rate system. It's not always the cheapest option, but it saves me a lot of brain work. Plus, you can order these online and they will send you a ton of them completely free. You just have to pinky swear you'll only use them for the intended purpose. So I've got a stack of panels here, and I've got all my supplies laid out in the order that I need them. Benjamin, hi Benjamin, wants Ray Gun Design B, and I have added these little letters underneath where the standoffs are going to go, just so I can easily identify which one I'm packing. Anti-dumb measures. By the way, I've discovered in my research that this design was sold back in the 1950s as the pyrotomic disintegrator pistol. They're extremely common and not worth very much at all, so if you find one in your attic, just mail it directly to me. Don't even look it up. I've discovered the identities of the other designs as well, but I'll probably talk about that over on the wrap-up video over on Patreon, link in the description. So the first thing I do is I add a hanger to the back using the pilot holes that I etched earlier, and a couple of silicone bumpers. I etched placement markers for these also. The idea is to make this as easy and dumb-proof as possible. Then a complementary microfiber cloth for cleaning the acrylic and protecting the design in transit. I'm leaving the protective paper on the acrylic to avoid scratches. Now I'm shipping these mostly disassembled, both to save on shipping cost and to minimize packing waste. But it just takes a screwdriver, and I've included all of the hardware in these nifty little sleeves I found online. Now I almost regretted buying these at first because they are a huge pain to open with your fingers. But a few minutes in Fusion, and I 3D printed myself a custom funnel that slips right in the end. Now it only takes me a few minutes to fill a whole bunch of these. Now, the reason I packaged them like this instead of just putting them in a simple little zippy bag is I didn't want to throw them in the envelope, have them shaking around, and end up on the face of the panel where they would very likely cause damage when something else gets stacked on top of it at the post office. So I packed them in a nice little row like this. And then I can tape them along the edge of the panel where they won't cause any damage. Shipping them disassembled and flat like this also makes it much less likely to get damaged in transit. Then we just slip it in an envelope, double bag it just to be safe. You know, like I do with your mom. Sponsor's gonna make me bleep that, I know it. Just add the shipping label And we're done, except for the dozens of others I've got to pack now. By the way, if you ask nicely, the post office will let you borrow these. You have to pinky swear that you'll just use them for the intended purpose. Thank you guys so much for ordering these. It really makes me happy that you enjoy these as much as I do. And they are still for sale, by the way. So head over to my website, pick out your favorite or a whole set. And again, I have a Patreon page where I post behind the scenes stuff. I also do a video, what I call a post-mortem video, where I go into more detail about some of these project videos. It usually goes up about a week after the main video. So if you're interested in that, link down in the description. Thanks again, guys, and I'm gonna go drop these off. Is the door in the shot? Can you tell I didn't go out the door?